Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I want to talk to you tonight about the divine laws that govern money and prosperity. For wealth is not merely a matter of chance, but of alignment with higher principles. Money is energy, a reflection of our thoughts, beliefs, and the words we speak. Prosperity flows to the soul that knows its worth, to the mind that dares to expect abundance, and to the heart that gives without fear. When you understand that every dollar is but a symbol of faith and expectancy, you begin to see that lack is an illusion and supply is infinite. Tonight, I will reveal to you the hidden keys, the secrets that unlock the treasure house of the universe, so you may step into your rightful inheritance and live a life of overflow and plenty. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, when we say that money is a spiritual idea before it becomes physical, we are speaking of an eternal truth that many fail to recognize. Money, in its essence, is not paper, metal, or numbers on a screen. Those are simply the forms it takes when it manifests in the physical world. The true source of money is invisible, intangible, and rooted in thought, faith, and spiritual law. Everything that appears in your life begins first in the unseen. Just as a seed contains within it the blueprint of a mighty tree, every financial blessing begins as an idea planted in the fertile soil of your mind and heart. The world teaches us to chase after money, to labor endlessly for it, but the wise understand that money is a servant, not a master, and it responds to the invisible forces of belief and expectation. When you see money as an idea, you begin to understand that there is no limit to it. The universe is abundant, infinite, and constantly seeking expression. Money flows through channels, but it does not originate from those channels. Your employer, your business, your investments, these are only instruments, not sources. The true source is the divine intelligence that governs all things. That is why two people can work the same job, have the same resources, and yet one prospers while the other struggles. The difference lies not in effort alone, but in consciousness. The one who holds in their mind an image of abundance, who believes without wavering that they are divinely supplied, will always find that opportunities open, ideas come, and provision appears. Money is an idea clothed in substance, and your thoughts are the designers of that clothing. If you think scarcity, you will see lack everywhere, even in the midst of plenty. If you think wealth, you will find ways, means, and open doors where others see none. To treat money as a spiritual idea is to release fear. Fear binds, limits, and contracts. Faith expands, multiplies, and liberates. When you fear money, fear losing it. Fear not having enough. You are closing the channels through which supply can reach you. But when you trust the divine order of your life, when you believe that every need is met, you allow money to flow freely. Money is energy, and energy must circulate. Just as water stagnates when it does not move, so does money stagnate when it is hoarded in fear or withheld in doubt. The mind that understands money as a spiritual idea is generous, for it knows that giving and receiving are one motion, like the in and out of breath. When you give, you acknowledge the endless nature of supply. When you receive, you affirm your worthiness. Money as a spiritual idea also means that your words and emotions shape your financial world. Every statement you make, every belief you hold, either builds a bridge to abundance or a wall of limitation. Saying, "I can't afford this," shuts a door. Saying, "All my needs are met," opens one. The universe echoes your words, returning to you the essence of what you speak. This is why affirmations, prayers, and declarations of faith are so powerful. They plant ideas in your subconscious, which in turn creates the conditions for money to appear. Prosperity is not about luck, it is about law, and law is impersonal yet unfailing. It does not favor one and deny another, it simply responds to the dominant vibration of your thoughts. Think lack, and lack becomes real. Think abundance, and abundance finds you. That is why the journey to financial freedom begins not with a job, a loan, or an investment, but with a decision to see money for what it truly is, a divine idea waiting for expression. Every invention, every enterprise, every fortune started as a thought in someone's mind, nurtured with belief, and acted upon with courage. When you align your inner world with abundance, the outer world cannot help but reflect it. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, when we speak of your words and thoughts being your greatest investments, we touch upon a principle that has governed the rise and fall of fortunes throughout history. Everything you experience in your financial life is first created in the unseen realm of the mind, and the words you speak give those thoughts power and direction. Thoughts are seeds, and words are the water that nourishes them, allowing them to grow into the reality you live each day. If you plant seeds of doubt, fear, and limitation, you will see a harvest of struggle and scarcity, but if you plant seeds of faith, confidence, and expectancy, you will reap abundance and opportunity. The mind cannot be neutral, it is constantly creating according to the images and ideas you allow to dwell there, and the tongue is the instrument that gives those ideas life. Too often, people speak carelessly about money, saying things like, "I'm always broke," "Money doesn't stay with me," or "I can't get ahead," without realizing that each word is a declaration to the universe. These statements become instructions to your subconscious, and your subconscious mind, which is always obedient, will set about arranging circumstances to match your declarations. On the other hand, when you speak words of wealth and plenty, when you affirm that opportunities are everywhere, that you are always supplied, and that your needs are met in surprising and delightful ways, you set in motion forces that bring those things into being. Every fortune began with an idea spoken or written, a vision declared boldly. The power of thought and speech is the foundation of every successful venture. A person who believes in lack will see lack. A person who believes in supply will see supply. The difference is not in the external world, but in the inner conversation they maintain. Your thoughts are silent prayers, and your words are commands to life. The person who masters their language and guards their thinking has mastered the key to prosperity. This is why spiritual teachers, philosophers, and successful entrepreneurs alike emphasize affirmations, visualization, and disciplined self-talk. They understand that the mind is a magnet, attracting to it the very conditions it expects. When you say, "I am prospering," even if your circumstances seem otherwise, you are aligning yourself with a higher truth that eventually overrides temporary appearances. Fearful thinking, on the other hand, creates blind spots. It makes you miss opportunities because your focus is on what is missing rather than what is possible. Words have creative power. They can build bridges to wealth or walls of poverty. Every complaint about money delays its arrival, while every word of gratitude multiplies it. The person who thanks life for every small provision opens the door for greater supply. Your words also influence others and the way they respond to you. Confidence attracts partnerships, trust, and resources, while negative talk repels them. People are drawn to those who carry an air of expectancy and assurance because it signals that they are moving toward something bigger. That is why the language of winners is always filled with vision, determination, and boldness. Even in moments of uncertainty, they speak of possibility, and by doing so, they create it. Guard your inner conversation because it eventually becomes your outer experience. Write your declarations, say them aloud, and let them become so familiar that they replace doubt. If you must talk about money, talk about it as if it were a loyal friend, always arriving on time, always sufficient, always growing. When you think of money, think of it as something drawn to you naturally, like rivers finding the ocean, inevitable and sure. Let your words praise supply, let your thoughts be filled with gratitude, and watch as the unseen responds in kind. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, when we say that faith and expectancy open the doors to unlimited supply, we are uncovering one of the most powerful truths about money and prosperity. Faith is the assurance of things not yet seen, and expectancy is the joyful anticipation that what you believe will soon appear. Together, they form a magnetic force that draws opportunities, resources, and financial blessings into your life. Faith is not mere hope. It is an unwavering knowing that the universe is abundant and that there is no lack in the divine order. When you move with faith, you no longer worry about how or when supply will come, because you trust that the right people, ideas, and channels are already aligning for your benefit. Expectancy is the attitude that accompanies faith. It is waking up each day looking for good, anticipating increase, and feeling a quiet excitement that something wonderful is on its way. People often live in fear and doubt, constantly asking themselves, will there be enough? What if I lose everything? What if nothing changes? These questions are the enemies of prosperity because they close the door to possibility. The mind that doubts cannot receive because it is too busy rehearsing failure. Faith, however, keeps the mind open and creative. It gives you the courage to take steps, make decisions, and seize opportunities that others overlook. When you expect good, you notice chances to grow and expand that were invisible before. Faith and expectancy work like a lens, sharpening your focus on abundance. A person with expectancy sees potential clients where others see strangers. They see investments where others see risks. They see ideas where others see confusion. That is why successful people often speak of their vision before they see results. They are training their minds and aligning their energy with the outcome they desire. Expectancy turns imagination into reality because it compels action. When you truly expect something, you prepare for it, you make room for it, you plan for it, you create space. If you expect to receive money, you handle your finances differently, you manage resources with care and confidence, knowing more is coming. Expectancy moves you out of desperation and into preparation. Faith lifts you above fear and into trust. Together, they create a vibration of certainty that cannot be ignored. Life responds to certainty. Opportunities gravitate toward people who are confident, decisive, and full of vision. Faith also quiets the noise of lack. It allows you to rest in the truth that no matter what the economy says, no matter what your current circumstances look like, there is an invisible supply ready to manifest. It silences the inner critic and the outer voices that say it cannot be done. Faith does not deny reality. It transcends it by seeing beyond what is temporary. The person of faith is unshaken by setbacks because they know setbacks are setups for something greater. They expect increase even when things seem still. This expectancy is not passive, it is active and alive. It keeps you alert to divine nudges, to intuitive ideas, to sudden insights. It is in those moments of expectancy that the best ideas come, that chance meetings happen, that creative solutions appear. The person who lives with faith and expectancy carries a presence that others notice. They seem fortunate, but it is not luck, it is alignment with spiritual law. Money and opportunity move toward the one who believes they are worthy of it, who expects it without apology, who walks in the confidence of supply. Faith gives your words power, and expectancy gives your actions direction. When you combine these forces, you turn your entire life into a magnet for wealth and success, because you are no longer waiting for something to happen, you are living as though it already has. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, when we say that gratitude multiplies every channel of prosperity, we are speaking of a force so simple and yet so powerful that it has the ability to transform your entire financial life. Gratitude is not just a polite habit. It is a spiritual magnet. When you are truly grateful for what you have, no matter how small, you signal to the universe that you are ready for more. Gratitude shifts your focus from what is missing to what is present, and this shift changes everything. Instead of seeing lack, you see sufficiency. Instead of complaining about bills, you give thanks for the ability to pay them. Instead of worrying about how money will come, you express joy for the money that is already there, however little it may be. This attitude creates a frequency of increase, and life always responds to that frequency. When you give thanks, you align yourself with abundance. The person who is thankful is open, the person who complains is closed. The grateful heart is magnetic because it sees possibility and blessings in every situation. It is not about pretending that challenges don't exist. It is about choosing to focus on the good, even in the midst of challenges. Gratitude has a multiplying effect because it draws your attention to opportunities you would have otherwise missed. The one who says thank you for a small income finds creative ways to grow it. The one who complains about a small income often overlooks the very doors that could lead to more. Gratitude creates expansion. It tells your subconscious mind to look for reasons to be glad, and the subconscious will always obey. When you are thankful, you notice things others ignore. A new client appears, an idea sparks, a connection is made, and you are ready for it because your attitude has prepared you to receive. Gratitude also changes your emotional state, and emotions are powerful drivers of action. A thankful person feels lighter, more inspired, and more willing to move forward. Worry, on the other hand, creates heaviness and slows progress. The thankful mind says, "Good things are already happening," and that expectation opens the door for more. Gratitude also deepens faith. When you look back on the blessings you have received, no matter how small, you remind yourself that supply has always found you before and will find you again. This remembrance builds confidence. It silences fear. It replaces doubt with certainty. Gratitude also attracts people and opportunities because it is an attractive energy. People enjoy being around those who are appreciative because appreciation makes others feel valued. It builds trust, fosters goodwill, and strengthens relationships. And in the realm of money and prosperity, relationships are often the channels through which blessings come. Gratitude also teaches stewardship. When you are grateful, you handle your resources with care, not out of fear but out of respect. You make wiser decisions because you value what you have. This wisdom often leads to growth because the person who values the small is entrusted with the greater. Gratitude also has a way of neutralizing envy and comparison. Instead of looking at what others have and feeling lack, you celebrate your own journey. This keeps your focus sharp and your energy positive. And when you celebrate the success of others, you align yourself with that same success because you are affirming that there is more than enough for everyone. Gratitude is the language of faith, and faith is the pathway to prosperity. When you wake each day with thankfulness, when you go to sleep with thankfulness, you are training your mind to expect good, and expectation is the womb of manifestation. Even when the supply seems delayed, gratitude says, "I trust that it is on the way." This trust keeps you calm, open, and ready. Gratitude may seem simple, but it is one of the richest investments you can make in your financial future because it multiplies every seed you plant, every effort you make, and every opportunity you embrace. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, when we speak of giving freely creating a vacuum for greater receiving, we are talking about a law as unchanging as gravity, a principle that governs the flow of money and prosperity. Everything in life moves in cycles. The tide goes out and comes back in, the seasons change, the breath moves in and out, and money is no different. When you give, you set this cycle in motion. The act of giving is not about loss, it is about circulation. Just as a farmer must plant seeds to reap a harvest, you must release what is in your hand to make room for something greater. Money is energy, and energy cannot flow where there is blockage or fear. The person who clings tightly to every penny, afraid to part with it, creates a wall that supply cannot pass. But the one who gives with trust, knowing that every act of generosity opens a channel for more to return, will find themselves in the current of abundance. Giving is not measured by the size of the gift, but by the spirit behind it. A small offering given with faith can open larger doors than a fortune given grudgingly. When you give, you tell the universe, "I believe in the endlessness of supply. I trust there is always more where this came from." This attitude attracts increase because it demonstrates alignment with truth. Hoarding, on the other hand, is a sign of fear, and fear always contracts and limits. The act of giving clears away fear and builds faith. It also shifts your focus from lack to sufficiency. Instead of asking, "What if I run out?" you declare, "I have enough to share," and in that declaration, you activate the law of return. Giving also changes your vibration. It makes you feel prosperous, and this inner feeling is what draws more to you. When you bless others, you bless yourself, because the same channel through which you give is the channel through which you receive. The universe loves circulation, and when you become a willing participant in that circulation, you are never empty. Many people misunderstand this principle and give out of guilt or obligation, expecting nothing in return, but the truth is that giving is most powerful when it is joyful, when it is guided by faith and love. It is not about throwing money away. It is about intentional release. It can be an act of kindness, a helping hand, a donation, a gift to someone in need, or even investing in ideas and causes that inspire you. Each act says, "I believe in growth, expansion, and possibility." Giving also removes the grip of selfishness, opening your life to partnerships, networks, and opportunities you never imagined. It makes you magnetic to abundance because people and resources naturally gravitate toward those who are generous. And this is not limited to money alone. It applies to time, knowledge, encouragement, and service. Whatever you give will multiply, not always from the same place you gave it, but often from unexpected channels. Life has a way of surprising the giver, bringing blessings in forms and timings they could not have predicted. When you make giving a lifestyle, you become a channel of divine supply. You cannot give the universe. The more you release, the more comes to fill the space you have created. The vacuum you make by giving is not emptiness, it is an open door. That vacuum calls to the unseen forces of abundance and says, "Here is room, here is readiness." And like water rushing to fill a hollow, like air filling a void, supply will come because nature abhors a vacuum. To give freely is to trust that the current of life is moving in your favor. And when you live in this flow, money and prosperity cannot help but find their way to you. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, when we say that gratitude multiplies every channel of prosperity, we are speaking of a force so simple and yet so powerful that it has the ability to transform your entire financial life. Gratitude is not just a polite habit, it is a spiritual magnet. When you are truly grateful for what you have, no matter how small, you signal to the universe that you are ready for more. Gratitude shifts your focus from what is missing to what is present, and this shift changes everything. Instead of seeing lack, you see sufficiency. Instead of complaining about bills, you give thanks for the ability to pay them. Instead of worrying about how money will come, you express joy for the money that is already there, however little it may be. This attitude creates a frequency of increase, and life always responds to that frequency. When you give thanks, you align yourself with abundance. The person who is thankful is open, the person who complains is closed. The grateful heart is magnetic because it sees possibility and blessings in every situation. It is not about pretending that challenges don't exist. It is about choosing to focus on the good, even in the midst of challenges. Gratitude has a multiplying effect because it draws your attention to opportunities you would have otherwise missed. The one who says thank you for a small income finds creative ways to grow it. The one who complains about a small income often overlooks the very doors that could lead to more. Gratitude creates expansion. It tells your subconscious mind to look for reasons to be glad, and the subconscious will always obey. When you are thankful, You notice things others ignore. A new client appears, an idea sparks, a connection is made, and you are ready for it because your attitude has prepared you to receive. Gratitude also changes your emotional state, and emotions are powerful drivers of action. A thankful person feels lighter, more inspired, and more willing to move forward. Worry, on the other hand, creates heaviness and slows progress. The thankful mind says, "Good things are already happening," and that expectation opens the door for more. Gratitude also deepens faith. When you look back on the blessings you have received, no matter how small, you remind yourself that supply has always found you before and will find you again. This remembrance builds confidence. It silences fear. It replaces doubt with certainty. Gratitude also attracts people and opportunities because it is an attractive energy. People enjoy being around those who are appreciative because appreciation makes others feel valued. It builds trust, fosters goodwill, and strengthens relationships. And in the realm of money and prosperity, relationships are often the channels through which blessings come. Gratitude also teaches stewardship. When you are grateful, you handle your resources with care, not out of fear but out of respect. You make wiser decisions because you value what you have. This wisdom often leads to growth because the person who values the small is entrusted with the greater. Gratitude also has a way of neutralizing envy and comparison. Instead of looking at what others have and feeling lack, you celebrate your own journey. This keeps your focus sharp and your energy positive. And when you celebrate the success of others, you align yourself with that same success because you are affirming that there is more than enough for everyone. Gratitude is the language of faith, and faith is the pathway to prosperity. When you wake each day with thankfulness, when you go to sleep with thankfulness, you are training your mind to expect good, and expectation is the womb of manifestation. Even when the supply seems delayed, gratitude says, "I trust that it is on the way." This trust keeps you calm, open, and ready. Gratitude may seem simple, but it is one of the richest investments you can make in your financial future because it multiplies every seed you plant, every effort you make, and every opportunity you embrace. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, when we say that obedience to divine intuition leads to financial breakthroughs, we are pointing to a truth that many overlook in the pursuit of wealth and prosperity. Intuition is that quiet inner voice, that subtle nudge, that sudden knowing that comes without logic or reason, and yet it often carries the key to your next level of success. It is the language of the spirit, the whisper of divine guidance, and those who listen to it find doors opening where none seem to exist. Money and opportunity do not always come through predictable channels. Often, they arrive through a moment of inspiration, an idea that seems unusual, or a step that feels uncertain but right. When you learn to recognize and obey that inner guidance, you place yourself in the flow of provision. Obedience is the act of trusting that voice, even when it seems small, even when circumstances tell you otherwise. The greatest inventions, the most profitable ventures, and the most life-changing opportunities have often come from a simple idea followed by courageous action. There are times when intuition will tell you to let go of something, to walk away from a deal, to invest in a place others are avoiding, or to speak to a person who seems insignificant. These moments are not random, they are divine appointments, and your willingness to act on them can change everything. Intuition sees what logic cannot because it is connected to a higher perspective. It draws from infinite intelligence and often reveals shortcuts, warnings, and solutions long before they are visible in the physical world. But many people silence this inner voice because they are too busy, too fearful, or too attached to old patterns. They trust only what they can see and miss the treasures hidden in the unseen. To experience financial breakthroughs, you must cultivate sensitivity to this guidance. This means quieting the noise, creating moments of stillness, and being willing to listen. It also means taking small steps of faith, acting on what you sense rather than waiting for perfect clarity. Obedience to intuition is like following a thread. Each step reveals more of the path. Sometimes the action seems unrelated to money, but it leads to connections, skills, and insights that eventually open financial doors. The person who learns to follow these gentle promptings develops an inner confidence, because they realize they are never alone in the journey. They become bold because they know that guidance is always available. When you obey, even in the little things, you show trust, and trust multiplies. Life begins to trust you with more because you are responsive to its leading. Financial breakthroughs often come disguised as small instructions: a book you feel led to read, a phone call you sense you should make, a habit you know you must change, a chance meeting you feel you should pursue. Each act of obedience creates a ripple, and those ripples gather into waves of opportunity. Intuition also protects you. It can save you from unwise investments, from toxic partnerships, from spending time and resources in places that bear no fruit. It can guide you to the right people, the right timing, the right choices. And because it comes from a higher wisdom, it is never hurried, never anxious, always calm, always sure. The challenge is to trust it when it seems to contradict what is visible. The marketplace often moves by fear and greed, but intuition moves by peace and clarity. This is why the most prosperous individuals often speak of gut feelings and inner knowing. They have learned that the most profitable decisions are often those that cannot be fully explained at the time. When you learn to listen and follow, you enter into a partnership with the unseen, and that partnership is the foundation of creative wealth. Obedience to divine intuition is not about superstition, it is about alignment. It is about knowing that life is speaking to you constantly, and that every nudge is an invitation to growth. The more you practice listening, the louder and clearer it becomes. The more you act, the more confident you feel. And in that confidence, you move boldly, make decisions others fear to make, and discover that financial breakthroughs are not accidents but outcomes of alignment with that higher wisdom that always leads to increase. Thanks for watching.